Hey number ones, welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna check out a video that I really like, and it's from a channel that I think you should absolutely check out. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So here it is, and it's called LGR. 1.75 million subscribers and a F-ton of videos. Coverage of retro tech, PC gaming, and more. Typically 3 vids a month. If I did 3 videos a month, I wouldn't be able to pay for my food. So I post 30 times a month. Before we check his videos, look at this. What is this? Can anyone recognize what computer this is? See if you can recognize it. I'll give you a minute. What computer have we got in the background, my friends? That is not a Commodore. Anyone else? It is such a dear computer to me. I actually have it right there. It's literally on my left side here. It's the same model. It's not an Apple II. No. This computer that we see here was released in 1981. Specifically, it's the IBM 5150 with a 5151 monitor because it's green. It's a green phosphorus monitor, so it's a P1. Because when it comes to monochrome, early 80s and late 70s monitors, because if you go to the Apple II, for example, I think it would be all black and white. But this is instead that generation of monitors that when you think of Matrix, right, everything, it's like this green with a black background. It's the P1, which is the type of phosphorus, which in this case shines bright green. If this was an amber, then it would be classified as P3. The 5153 would be the color model. A lot of people say this is the first personal computer ever. Technically, it isn't, but it is the first personal computer developed by IBM. Very significant computer within the history of computing, which is why I have one, working conditions, and I will show you one of these days. Oh, she's got a custom animation logo. Why am I the only YouTuber without a custom animation? Love it. Did you hear that sound when it went beep? Your IBM computer, whenever you turn it on, it'll take a minute to boot, and then you'll hear that sound, beep, exactly like you heard it. That means that it did all of the internal checks and everything works. That's what that means. It's pretty loud, by the way.
Greetings and welcome to another LGR unboxing of a game console decades later. And this time around, it is one that I've been wanting to get to pretty much more than any of the others that I've done so far, and that is the PlayStation 2.
Okay, so pretty nice cosmetic conditions. I wonder what the heck happened here. Did they shoot it with a BB gun or something? Did they smack it against what? It looks like a pointy object. Pretty nice cosmetic conditions. I have a PS2 in box as well. It's exactly this model. I find it fascinating that they went for just blue. Just blue. Just make it blue.
And it's a wonderful blue box here. And this is not only one of my favorite consoles, but it is new in box with a lot of asterisks out beside it. One of those that was sold to me new in box. And as usual, you never really know, but we're going to find out if it is or not.
It's probably cost a pretty penny if it's considered new inbox. When I bought all of my inbox systems, and I have quite a few, Mega Drive, Genesis, Super Nintendo, everything in box. I've got a Dreamcast, I've got an Xbox, original Xbox, all the Xbox 360, all of that stuff, Commodore Amiga, everything in box, Commodore 64, VIC-20, so I've got all of that stuff, but never new in box because they are too expensive. They're already expensive in general if they are in box, but I always make sure that they are tested and sometimes recapped. If it's one of those systems that has a battery inside, I always make sure that they remove it.
And also just go over the PlayStation 2 in general. A bit of a historical context and of course unboxing it.
I'm all into the historical context, am I not?
Setting it up. The games, peripherals, and of course we're going to play a lot of games and just dive into this thing and explore it as if it was 25 years ago, or really 24 years ago when it actually launched in the year 2000. But this has been in the social consciousness in gaming for 25 years.
You know, that's insane. Does it really feel like it's been 24 years since the PS2? If someone were to ask me, what console were you playing with 24 years ago, I would tell you the NES. And I would be tremendously wrong.
Since it was first announced in 1999, but yeah, it didn't actually launch until March of 2000 in Japan, and then October 26, 2000 in North America, and then the 24th of November in Europe. But yeah, revealed the year prior as seen in this November 1999 issue of PlayStation Magazine, among every other publication imaginable. But you know, this one of course was one of the standouts, diving into every detail that they...
Why are they placing the CD upside down though? Oh, because I mean, it is horizontal. Can it even read it like that? Or were they just trying to be like not sponsored and they didn't want to show the game? This is so puzzling. Gosh, look, all the explanation, memory card and controller part, disc tray, yeah, meet the PlayStation 2. That is some proper advertising. That's what Sega failed to do with the PlayStation 1 era, because they were releasing the Sega Saturn. They made that mistake with the Dreamcast too, but particularly with the Sega Saturn. They didn't spend almost anything, at least in Europe, when it comes to advertising, whereas Sony was going really heavy on the advertisement, which meant that in Italy, at least, and in Europe, everyone knew what a PlayStation was. No, I didn't even know what the Sega Saturn existed. I only found out when it was already kind of obsolete, although nothing is obsolete for a retro gamer like me. I'm considering I do have a Dreamcast, as I was saying. I don't own a I don't own a Saturn, but I'd like to get one soon. You know, it's tax season, so I'm going to write it off taxes and get one. Yeah, that's it. Like, look at this advertisement. What kid in the year 2000 wouldn't want that?
They gleaned from the Japan reveal of the console, of course, giving their takes on what it looked like. It's interesting they called it an unusual looking console, resembling a PC tower as much as it does a video game system.
You know why they're saying that? Because a lot of PC towers back in the day were horizontal and flat. So they are absolutely right. Even the IBM PC that we just saw in his logo, if you think about it, the tower doesn't exist still. The tower is more of like when you start seeing like the CD-ROMs and that kind of generation with I don't know the exact date when those started to be a thing. But before that, computers were like this. So they are absolutely right. It looks like more like a computer.
It'll go horizontal or vertical. Ooh. I guess the more things change, the more they stay the same. It seems like every PlayStation console ever since this has been decried as odd looking. But of course, whatever. It was the capabilities that were extremely exciting, like having a DVD-ROM drive, digital audio with surround sound, higher capacity memory cards, and hard disk support, full play.
That was another thing that Sony just did right. They chose the DVD as a medium. There were other consoles that were going into the Blu-ray at the time. And then, of course, Nintendo 64 was trying to compete with cartridges still, which was good on some aspects, but had some limitations. And then it was interesting to see how they dealt with those. But at the end of the day, DVD, can you imagine that? Like when you're trying to convince a household, like a dad, and he's like, well, I could buy the PlayStation 2 and I also get a DVD player an excellent DVD player at that, with one purchase. That's a victory right there. And, Sony has been really good. Usually Nintendo's good at that when they double down with like multiple things. But Sony was really good when it comes to marketing to the family. You need to convince the people that make the money in the family. That's kind of the situation here.
PlayStation backwards compatibility, USB and FireWire ports, and muscle, as PlayStation Magazine put it. Of course, referring to the much-hyped Emotion engine, the processing unit developed jointly by Toshiba and Sony, giving the PS2 a custom 295 MHz RISC processor based on the MIPS R5900, integrating the 64-bit CPU, 128-bit VPUs, memory management, I/O, and more into a single package, alongside 32 memory.
Yeah, backward, sorry if I'm interrupting him a lot, but I do want to say this. Backward compatibility only in the first generation, I think. They stopped with that. I don't think that later generation of PS2 were actually backward compatible with PS1. Correct me if I'm wrong. And people that understand all of this technical talk, they always sound so smart to me. Like, I have no idea what the heck he said because I'm not a tech guy. So there is that.
Megabytes of system memory and 4 megabytes of video memory. I mean, it was a heck of an upgrade compared to the PlayStation 1 and anything else on the market at the time. And then to top it off, the fact that it had a DVD drive included, just insane and absolutely a killer blow to the Sega Dreamcast already on the market.
Absolutely. That's another thing. Like, the Sega Saturn was a fantastic machine when it came to 2D. Very, very capable. In fact, I think the Sega Saturn generation has some of the best 2D games. But 3D was the thing. I remember that. Like when we saw Resident Evil 1 or Biohazard, well, it was Resident Evil in the West, for the first time with the pre-rendered graphics and then the 3D low poly characters blending in a little bit, well, sticking out really, but then again, didn't matter. Yeah, we were blown away. We didn't care about 2D systems anymore. I kind of went back to 2D because of nostalgia. So if you give me 2D now, I'll jump right into it. I'll devour that stuff. But when 3D became a thing with early PlayStation as a home console entertainment thing, it was like, we don't care about 2D anymore.
Because DVDs were completely taken off in terms of movies and having support built in. For $299 in 2000, this was such a massive selling point, considering a standalone DVD player would cost about the same at the time still, though many cost less. Either way, it didn't play games, whereas the PS2 did. That is, if you could even find one at all.
Genius.
The launch was absolutely absurd. It's the first console release I remember seeing covered on the nightly news, showing crazy lines of people waiting all night to buy one, shortages lasting way longer than anticipated, and resellers flipping them for a quick buck. It truly was the console of the future. But eventually Sony course corrected, and it went on to become the best-selling console to date, with over 155 million units worldwide throughout.
Could you imagine that? Like, the original PlayStation put Sony's name on the map, which was a very bold move, because, I mean, the competition was extremely established. I mean, Sega was doing really well with Genesis 16 bits. It was a very good competitor, but Nintendo was like it was the dominant force on the market. Everything was Nintendo. And then Sony appears as, yeah, they are tech people. They make TVs, but they're like, no, we're going to make this, boom. And then they kick it out they blow it out of the water. And then this, insane.
In its lifetime. So you'd think that these in a box like this would be relatively easy to find for a decent price, but not really. At least not these really early ones you'll find a lot.
Look, that's expensive. I didn't pay that much. But to be honest with you, what I did is I bought a PlayStation 2 Fat first, separate, so that I didn't pay much. And then I bought the box on its own. So because it wasn't one thing altogether, I didn't have to spend like this insane amount of money. I think the box alone, I paid something like $150, which, given it's really overpriced cardboard, but I'm paying for memory, so leave me alone. At least I don't drink myself to, that's my therapy. It's my therapy. But yeah, no, I'm not going to pay $1,000 for like, sorry, but no.
A lot of the Slims and the later bundles and re-releases and things, and I don't exactly know which one it is. I mean, it's a 30,001 model, but in terms of like which one of the releases of this blue box, I don't know. There's several of them, each having slightly different text and different screenshots for the example games and whatnot, but that's enough of all this.
Oh, let's see if I recognize any of these. So Gran Turismo 3, spectacular. I mean, even the first one was amazing, and I never really was a driving guy, but when Gran Turismo 1, so just Gran Turismo, people started playing it. It was fun with the licensing. You need to get license B, license A. It was great. I played a lot. Not a sport guy. I'm impressed that they put 2, 3, cool border. I don't know why. They should have put some kind of Final Fantasy in it. I mean, PlayStation 2, we are talking Final Fantasy X, but maybe it hadn't been released, right? Summoner was a great game, and my cousin bought that one as a first game.
Let's open this sucker up. And yeah, it has been opened before, but the contents are supposed to be unused and still in their original packaging and whatnot. So we've got a composite cord right there for the video. A PlayStation 2 original black.
Isn't that crazy to think that they were still working with composite, and so they were with, when it comes to the Dreamcast, of course, because we don't get to HDMI until PlayStation 3. And Xbox 360. That's the very first generation that started HD, which was such a massive, I think, jumps in generational jumps are not the same anymore. Would you agree? Do you get the same feeling? You played a lot of Gran Turismo, me too, Daxfile. Wouldn't you, like, the generational gap from the 16-bit systems, Super Nintendo and Genesis Mega Drive, to the 3D era of PlayStation 1 and I suppose Sega Saturn up to a certain extent was generational, in the sense that was like insane. The difference is like night and day. And then PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 was pretty strong, but the greatest leap at that point when we don't look at 2D to 3D, was non-HD to HD. So when you start getting the systems that get interlaced 1080, 720 sometimes, or like whatever, upscaled. But when you actually start to get the HD stuff, so 360 and PlayStation 3, generational massive leap. But from PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4, of course it's a jump, but it's not the same. And I feel the same even between PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5. And if you consider that then we have the mid-gen stuff, and really what you are doing is from PlayStation 4 Pro to PlayStation 5, it's not as amazing. It's not as amazing as a leap as it used to be. And I wonder why that is. And of course they lie on the boxes when they tell you 8K gaming. Oh, shut up. 8K
controller
gaming.
Right there, the DualShock 2. We have our power cord. So it's basically a figure 8 lead, but it has this little square bit
Nice.
on there.
Love it.
All right. So in here we've got an assortment of paperwork.
Yep.
Right off the bat there. So
Thank you.
all kinds of things. And yeah, that does not look like it has been taken out of there. That is early 2000s tape. At least, I don't know. I hope anyway. And then the
Okay, go.
console. Yeah, I wonder if that serial number matches the box.
Don't drop
It
it.
doesn't look like it to me. PT13 something other. It's definitely been repackaged.
Yeah. So basically they bought the box and sold it as new, but it wasn't new. And they probably played some Gran Turismo with it. Just letting you know, mate.
But in good shape and about as close as I think I'm going to get to unboxing an original US release. The
absolutely.
Japanese ones, you can find them new in box all day.
What he said, absolutely true. This guy absolutely knows what he's talking about. In Japan, when I was living in Japan, I lived there for 4 years. After my graduation from college, I moved to Japan. And believe me, when you go to a pawn shop, like P-A-W-N, not P-O-R-N, P-A-W-N. If you go to a pawn shop in Japan, you buy stuff and it looks like new and you pay nothing for it. It's insane. If you ever go to Japan, you've got to go to the pawn shops. If you want to go to the PORN shops as well, it's your freedom, I suppose. Do whatever you want. But when it comes to the pawn shops, it's insane. Like what I think I already said this on a video, but I want to tell you again. Once I went to this pawn shop in Japan. It was like my day off. And then I'm checking out, I'm buying like games for like PlayStation 1 and I'm paying them nothing, like $3. I'm buying all of this stuff and I'm like getting the basket filled. And then I find this entire collection of Love Hina. And I'm talking 15 DVDs plus 2 specials, winter and summer special. And I see them priced as 100 yen, so 100 yen in Japanese, which is pretty much $8, at least back in the day, considering inflation, $1. So I go to the guy and I'm like, excuse me, is this like, to the employee? And I ask him, is this $1 per DVD? And he says, yeah, 100 yen desu. So it's like, no, it's 100 yen. I like, for all of them? It's like, hi, sumimasen, sumimasen, hi. That's what he said. I remember like going crazy to find the Hyakuen coin, and I bought 15 DVDs, include 2 special editions in perfect conditions. Like they didn't even have fingerprint, not even one. For $1, the entire collection. I still have it. It's in the background there, and I'm very proud of that deal. I'm very proud of that deal. A very good deal I got recently here in America was that I bought something like 25 original Atari games in box for $130. So that was nice too. Very, very good. In fact, when I went to the shop and I looked at the pricing of these Atari games from the 70s and early 80s, and I asked him, hey, I'm interested in your Atari games. And he said, which one do you want? And that was the one time in my life that I could tell the guy, all of them. All of them. I'll buy every single game you have in the store. That was wonderful. Yeah, gave him $140, $130, I think. But yeah, 100, it's insane. Japan, immaculate.
As usual, when you buy these things on eBay, the new in-box status is debatable.
He's right.
There is our Sony
Man, look at
PlayStation
that.
composite video cable. which is just fine. I only ever used composite back in the day.
It's
Nowadays,
proprietary,
I moved on to
it?
component. So here is one of the official PS2 component cables,
Right.
which gives you a nice clear signal, especially on a good CRT. I think all the way up to 1080i on games that support it, but 480i
Seriously.
for the most part, and also 480p on progressive sets. And then you also nowadays have options like this here, one of these HD RetroVision cables, and these are quite wonderful. All right, now the controller.
I'll tell you, I do prefer to play my retro systems onto our CRT. The majority of cases, if I'm firing up my original Xbox, I'll connect it to my CRT TV, and that's how I play it. I don't care about, oh no, let's use it on a modern TV and let's upgrade the signal to HD. I don't really care about that, because I like, first of all, I miss the scan lines, which complete the drawing, if you know what I mean. You don't like interlaced displays. Well, progressive, I think, is superior to interlaced, the way I understand it. But like, I'm missing the scan lines, and I know you can simulate them, but at the end of the day, a good CRT is the way I want to play it, because the reason why I'm playing these is because of nostalgia. So I prefer to play them the way they are. I have nothing against emulation. Emulate, oh yeah, you have emulator. There we go. I kind of anticipated that. I love emulators. I have emulators. But sometimes I just want to play it the way it is. I turn it on, CRT screen, and that's the way I play it. So I don't do that. I usually don't do that. Upscale the signal. Also because then, you know, I want to play them on a for what is it called? Oh gosh, the ratio. Can't remember the ratio, but you know, not like this, not wide. I want them to play in the original ratio. So that's just me. I'm not saying it's the right or wrong way to do it. It's just me.
Pretty excited to use, because I think, oh man, I might have only ever used one that was new before.
Thank you.
All my PS2 stuff came from thrift stores.
Yeah, I understand that.
Oh yeah,
thrift stores.
Look at that.
Man, excellent conditions.
Again, smells fantastic.
Does it smell like petroleum, or is it just me? Now, maybe it's like more paper. Paperwork usually smells like petroleum. Arcade machines are coolest. I own 3. They are arcade 1-up though. So they're like kind of a modern take onto, they're not original CRTs, but they are really good. And I'm planning on making a few reviews on my arcade cabinets, because they're nice.
Oh, that feels so...
I know.
Snappy.
Snappy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Looks legit, at least to my eye. I've definitely had a few bootlegs.
Look at the cosmetic conditions of this. Yeah, now I'm starting to believe that maybe it is new, because, I mean, the controller at least looks new.
Over the years, and this doesn't seem like one of those. And yeah, these PS2 controllers are interesting with the DualShock 2 here. Not only was it basically just an upgrade of the analog controller that they released for the PlayStation 1 just a year.
Yeah, but come on, the PlayStation 1 is the better looking, if you ask me. Like, PlayStation 2 controller is the superior choice. Of course, the original PS1 doesn't even have these 2 sticks. This is like the analog version, which came later on as they decided, yeah, we want to try and use these. The original didn't even have that, and it's very light in comparison, whereas the PlayStation 2 controller is a little heavier and bulkier, which some people prefer. But to me, the gray, it's one of those things, like the old school machines from the 80s that are beige. Do you remember that? They did it to match office supplies of the period. That's why everything was beige. It's just that it's just a very endearing color to me, because in connection to my memories, of course. But the light gray, love it.
Before the PS2 came out, if I remember. But yeah, it also has these pressure-sensitive inputs, especially the face buttons. And yeah, it's analog instead of digital. There is a pressure sensitivity going on. Let's see what we got in the paperwork. Important problems, if you have them, contact.
I don't think they had vibration, the controllers of PS1. Maybe if it's called a dual shock, then yes, because that's what shock is. I just don't. The original PlayStation controllers had no shock factor. Maybe the ones with this, I don't know actually now.
Contact them. This ESRB ratings board guide. I wonder how this ended up getting bundled in there. What kind of agreement happened? Because this was not. And any of the other consoles from...
Mature sexual themes, seriously, strong sexual what the heck? It must be a special PlayStation 2.
This generation that I've unboxed, get a free PlayStation 2 DVD demo disc. Heck yeah.
Oh my gosh, the demos. Didn't you love when like a magazine that had nothing to do, but gave you like a PlayStation demo disc with a bunch of games? And back in the day, who the heck had the money to buy the games new anyways? Yeah, you could buy like a game every once in a while, but the demo stuff is a lot of fun. Fun fact, because Mortal Kombat 1, the rating system was invented. Really? I didn't know that. Hello, Deuce AXL. Good to have you here.
Ground was still going. I actually don't think I've ever used a demo disc for the PlayStation 2. Quite a few for the PS1. There's that lovely...
Man, we used to live on demo discs. Do you guys as collectors, do you care about this? The paperwork? I don't. Like, that's the one thing that if it's like there is a price difference between a boxed system complete, so with all the paperwork of anything, and a boxed system without, and the difference in price is significant, I'll immediately buy the one without it. I don't even care. I can care about the boxes. I will pay for cardboard, absolutely, but paperwork, I do not care one bit.
Blue stand for the vertical mode of the PlayStation 2. I always thought that looked so cool. And here...
I never met anyone who used the vertical mode for the PlayStation 2, have you? Do you say Excel? Good to have you here.
Here is the PS2 instruction manual, something I have genuinely never seen before.
Yeah, who
Would
read
you look
that?
at that? The model number is wrong at 39,001 from 2002. So another thing in our repackage theory, feeling a bit scammed.
Yeah.
All the different discs that you can play.
I feel for you, mate, but at least you can write all of it off taxes, and you made a pretty penny with the video, so I'm happy about that.
And your PlayStation 2. And I like how it shows that there were different colors for them. Because games weren't just on DVD-ROM, they were on CD-ROM as well. And not only does it have the compact disc logo on there,
Man, I didn't know that.
But they were blue, as opposed to the black from the PlayStation 1. Of course, the majority of games were on DVD-ROM.
I love this channel. So informative, isn't it? Really, really informative. True, yes, said Dude Man. In Mortal Kombat 1 for Sega, like the Genesis and Mega Drive, you had to add a cheat code, which was what in Italy we would read as ABACABB, which is like ABA, like I still remember it. I still remember ABACABB. That was the the code. And then it would unlock blood and gore fatalities with the gory fatalities. Super Nintendo, you couldn't do that though.
You have your standard silverback right there. All these cute little illustrations of things not to do with your PlayStation.
Don't play your PlayStation 2 while you are naked in the bath, I suppose. Can you believe it that there are people that do that? Could you believe it?
Don't bring it in the bathtub. No. Don't melt it with a radiator. Don't take it outside in the rain.
Don't throw it from the 12th floor.
Don't call it on the phone.
Don't Oh my gosh, have you guys ever read any of these manuals, but the ones done in China? Like if you buy a little implement from China and it gives you the manual with this, but it says stuff like, because it's translated with Google, I think, and before AI, so the translation is terrible. And some of these are like, they can make your day. Like literally, it will tell you, do not bring a device into radioactive waste zone. Yeah, don't take it to Chernobyl.
Screw it with lightning bolts. This is very sensitive equipment, okay? All right. So all things it comes with, positioning the console. If you have that stand, which was sold separately. I heard that caused some reading errors, but honestly, I've never used one of these vertically, and I've never had one of those stands. All the troubleshooting, you gotta love it. Just about every one of them. It's like,
okay, very cool. So let's jump. So we have peripheral mods, don't care. My PS2 game collection. Oh my gosh, I gotta watch a little of this. Goodness gracious, this guy. That's amazing. I mean, I have a good collection as well, but damn, it's the only thing you can say. Have to pronounce it that way. So what has he got? Let me see. So Silent Hill 2, that's a classic. Absolutely. I do have it. Let me see. Rise of Honor. I don't remember that. Hit and Run is a good one I've got. That's Simpsons. Quake, of course. King of Fighters. Wonderful series. What else have we got here? Tekken 4. That was a good one. Tekken 4 was good. Samurai Warriors. Lord of the Rings. Wild Arms was a good series of Japanese role-playing games. Did they have a Deus Ex already on PlayStation 2? I had no idea. What else have we got? I feel like, it's Christmas. Well, it is. He sorted them alphabetically. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Dark Alliance 2. We're going to play this here. Once I finish Dark Alliance 1, I'm going to stream Dark Alliance 2. 100%. Dynasty Warriors. Corvette. I have this because Chevrolet Corvette is my favorite car. It's my dream car. So, of course, I have this. Sims. Let's see.
To play here, there's just such a wild variety of stuff, game types and genres, and really unique things. And a lot of them you didn't see on any other console, or if you did, you most often...
he hasn't sorted them alphabetically, I see.
Saw it on the PlayStation 2, so it kind of ends up being associated with it, with just a few standouts immediately coming to mind for me being the Yakuza games, Tony Hawk.
He pronounced it well. Yakuza. That's the good pronunciation.
Hawk's Underground, Tekken 4, Midnight Club 2, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit.
So when it comes to Need for Speed, I loved the very first one for original PlayStation. Loved it. Was good. Good evening, Baron. Good to have you here. So original Need for Speed was good. It's just that I lost count, and I do not understand their decision to not freaking just give it numbers. Need for Speed 2, Need for Speed 3. That would have made it so much easier to pick up Need for Speed 7 and understand at least where you're at. But Need for Speed is like Underground, Sunset, California Rush, Need for Speed Rivals, Need for Speed Lemonade, Need for Speed freaking Blue Light, Need for Speed The Cops Are Crazy, Need for Speed Helicopter Under the Water. It's like literally the titles make no sense. And you have no idea. When I hear a Need for Speed, I have no idea. It could be on PlayStation 5 or it could be on the original Xbox for all I know. Title tells me nothing. I'm not a huge fan of that.
2, Burnout 3, the Jak and Daxter games, Redemption's prequel, Red Dead Revolver, the Lego Star Wars games, Simpsons Hit and Run.
This is such a good big game. My gosh, Simpsons. I really like the fact that did you know why Simpsons, the creators of the Simpsons went for the yellow skin tone as opposed to like make them, I guess, pink, light beige, whatever? It's because it contrasts very well with the blue sky. And since there was a highly numerical, mathematical likelihood that people zapping, you know what zapping is? It's what we did in the 90s. You take the remote control and just keep skipping channels. And so that's what any creator had to, like, if you wanted to create a TV show or a cartoon, you had a few seconds while kids or adults were doing zapping to attract the attention. And so they decided to go for a high contrasting color. And what's interesting is that even though when it comes to the complementary wheel of colors, usually blue is complemented by orange when it's paint, but when it's light, then yellow and blue become complementary colors. And because of CRT technology, this wouldn't be the highest contrasting combination with a blue sky. And there was a highly likelihood that if you were zapping, you would run into an external scene rather than the Simpson being inside. And that's why their skin is yellow. It's a marketing technique based specifically into the 90s habit of changing channels quickly to attract attention and making people stay. And then you attract them. It's a hook. That's what it's called. You hook them in with the contrasting colors. They stay for the jokes.
Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, the ATV Off-Road Fury and ATV versus MX and all those kind of things. The intriguing 3D Sims games, Raiden 3, Shadow of Colossus, Amplitude, I love that game. The early Call of Duties, the heck, even Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. There's so many other odd little titles that are genuinely fascinating. And again, I feel like I go to just so many of them. Like Stretch Panic, that's one of them. What was that one? Yeah, Mark Echo's Getting Up, Beautiful Joe, of course. I mean, come on now. Mary-Kate and Ashley's Sweet
I love how excited he is about this. So, as usual, as I was saying before, I never react to the entirety of the video, and there is plenty to watch. So please do check out the video. Is on the channel LGR, and the title is Unboxing a PlayStation 2 Console 24 Years Later. On the YouTube version of this, I will put a link both in the description and the comment as a pinned comment so that people can go subscribe, check him out. We'll give him a like, obviously, and I will subscribe. I thought I had subscribed, but apparently I hadn't yet.